Hey folks, it's Roland. So today we're gonna be looking at the shape bakery, right? So first we're gonna look at the repeater and let's make some adjustments. If you're not familiar, sometimes this guy and a couple of your help icons may be locked off screen, especially when you just change scripts or switch scripts. So just make a little bit of adjustments. Alright, make sure you can see the right edge of this guy and your help icons. Alright, so anyways, we're going to look at repeater first. So as much as I tried, there are still minor issues with the repeater, especially if your repeater has anchor point changes, right? And sometimes position and sometimes rotation. So those will be fixed. It could be the next update, it could be the 2 updates from now. Because there's also an issue here, and I think I fixed these guys here. But I want to add features here. So anyways, just to show you the issue here. Alright, so when I click, it's baking. Remember, you can shift click here also, yeah, on any of the radio buttons, and that will also trigger this button here. Okay, this looks okay. Let me undo. Let's take a snapshot. Okay, and let's if you can see, it looks a bit different. This is what we have now after we've unbaked it, right? And this is the original. See, it's smaller, and the center part is different. So there'll be a bit of variations. If we can live with that, by all means, go ahead. Otherwise, you have to wait for an update. What really works well are grids, but again, provided you do not, in your repeaters, do not make adjustments too much, especially to the anchor point and rotation. Right, so over here we've got 2 repeaters, not just 1. 2, and this one, it works beautifully. See that? Perfect. There's an issue with the undo. Sometimes it sends you off to another composition. So that's another thing I will be fixing. What's here? Alright, that one works. Let's try and bake this again. Oh no, this bakes well, yeah? So I guess that's that. Everything else you should be fine. Oh, this is another example where you will have issues because again, it's got anchor point set up. So this is what it looks like now. I'll take a snapshot and then I'll bake this. See, this is the result. Alrighty. So issues here or issues there. Otherwise everything works fine. Now what I want to show you next is the utilities, which is new. So this creates an expression in the scale of your repeated or your baked layers, right? And this creates an expression in the rotation of your baked layers. So what they do is they lock their values to the scale in an inverse relationship, and we will see that clearly here, right? Of course it also works here, and that also comes automatically when you create null parent when you bake. So maybe I'll just do let's do the grid then, right? Right, so let's bake this. I enable create now parent, and these are my options. Um, so the expressions that are applied here when you check these check boxes are exactly what happens when you apply here. The reason we have it here is because sometimes you may have forgotten to enable it, so you're not going to rebake it. So this way you can apply it separately. And this is your create now parent. Again, if you forgot or you thought you didn't need it, but now you change your mind, you can. And notice there are shortcut keys here for this guy. So if you control or command click, you get this pop-up menu or pop-up dialog. There are actually different ways to calculate the center based on the anchor point, based on the edges, and things you get slightly different results when you deal with differently sized layers. But more often than not, leave it at the default. You should be fine. Now, where do you place your null parent? Well, you've got more options here. Right, other than the boundary of the selected layers, you've also got composition landmarks where you can place the anchor point. And that may be handy when you're trying to synchronize or your positions with other layers in the 3D comp. So this supports yeah, 3D layers also, and also separate dimensions. And one benefit here that you don't have here, I'm going to control command click, you get this dialog, is that you can offset your parent. Okay, so once you select an edge or a point for your null parent, you can offset it from that point. It is useful, especially for 3D layers. Right, so what do I want to do next? Let's just apply. So parent is here, middle right, and I'm going to scale it. So I've applied the expressions here, so I'm going to show you what the expressions do. See that? They don't scale in size, they retain their original size, but they move away from the parent. Like that. So you can create multiple parents. So if now I select the top group, bring it up, I'm going to hold down Alt B because that's my shortcut to label my selected layers with blue. And now I can set, I'm going to use this guy. So middle center, no, middle right. So there it is. So they're all now, the selected layers are now parented to this guy. So now I can do this, only affects the top layer or the top row layers. Alright, and then for the bottom one, maybe we'll do a bottom, middle, left. And I'm gonna do option P, that's for purple. And then middle left. Yeah. Sorry, I set it here. I should have set it for this guy. Alright, you can do interesting stuff. Rotation. So these guys all have rotations, right? That we applied earlier when we baked. So let's see what happens. In fact, it'd be nice if you see the values. Alright, so it goes in the inverse. We're gonna undo, let's look at scale. See that? So this guy's 200, the parent's 200, the child goes to 50. So what happens is the child layers stay exactly the same size as its original size. Okay, I think we're done there with this part. We're going to look at text quickly now. Huh. Right, so I've got text layer here. Actually, we're going to do this first. Sorry. And do this. We're going to do characters to shape. So our parent is there, boundary middle left. Now, as I just show you, so we did apply the expressions, right? So we've seen this before, but what happens here is the first letter moves. Oops, and sometimes that's not what you want. Now I put the parents there because more often than not you want the tracking anchor. That's the effect we're achieving now, right? Applying this sort of expression for the scale allows us to create a tracking effect, but not so nice when the last character moves. So what you should do is select the last character. What you want to do is place the group anchor point at the center of the last character, if that's where your anchor is going to be, right? And if your anchor is going to be the first character, you would also place the anchor point at the null parent at the center. So I talk too much, time to do it. So we're going to apply this because this one's for baking, right? This is for baking. So command control click. These has shortcuts here. So if you single click, it will apply a centered null, centered to the boundary of the selected layers. Yeah, the overall boundary, and it will create the null parent in the center. And if you shift click, let's look at the help tip here. If you shift click, it will use the last settings. Sorry about that, the help text didn't go in there. Damn it, and it's not here. So you have to remember that, or read the help tip when you put your cursor on the button. So shift click will remember the last setting that you changed to, and then that's it. Then command and control click opens this up. Okay, so because I've selected just the letter Y and I want the anchor point to be at its center, all I do is click. So there it's there. Why the hell is it become bigger? But this guy's will change. I need to set this back to 100. Maybe let's remove. Alright, so back at the original, we'll select letter Y. Just click here. Parent is right smack in the middle of the letter Y. And we'll select all the other letters or characters and parent them to this parent that I just created. And then now when I scale, see the Y is fixed, and you get your text tracking effect there. Middle is fine. Yeah, middle is fine. You get your tracking from the middle. So you can bring this anywhere, bring the parent anywhere, and you can track from there also. What's nice about tracking, soon I'll be releasing the distributor, insanely powerful stuff. Do I have effects here? I don't. Let's add a fill effect. So these work with custom properties. You've seen custom properties in your keyframe orchestrator. I hope you've used this. This is one of the most insanely powerful scripts we have here. Um, I'll just have to do more tutorials on that. Anyway, so back to here. So I've applied the fill color effect, and then I've also made the fill color property a custom property. And then now I'm going to apply a color. I'm going to set pattern to interpolation. And now I can scale. As you can see, whoops. The colors stick consistently to the letters. Okay. Now, if you want to go up or down, you can also do this. Just move this guy up. Read parent. Then now when you scale, it will go down. Okay. What's nice is the rotation. Remember, we have rotation expression which offset the parent rotation, so you can get this sort of stuff. And this guy's a bit tricky. As we have to say, I think most of the time it works. Sometimes it doesn't. All right, and this not to do with the bakery. It's just how some layers are just impossible. I mean, sometimes you get vectors with hundreds of layers, and it's just a huge mess. All right, and also the way you set up the shape layers in Illustrator will obviously affect what happens here. For the most part, if you're set up like this, you should be fine. I'm just going to do one more here. So I'm going to group the top guys and let's see if this works. So 1, 2, 3. Right, so this and this are in the same, so that works fine. But if you have a setup here which doesn't work as expected, you need to send me the project file because I need to see how you set it up, and from there I can try and solve it. Because how you set it up is very critical to solving it or baking it. Okay, that's it for now. So Shape Bakery, insanely powerful, especially when you're working or when you add these options here. Other updates in the future will be adding support for baseline, because now when you bake, whoops, what happens? Oh, I click on the wrong button. Yeah, if you look at each character, the baseline here is fine, but if I add a character with a descender, like a J, or you may even have an ascender for some languages, you're gonna have issues. So let's do this. So you see where the anchor point for the J is? It's way below. It should be at the baseline. So now if so they're all linked to the parent is this guy. So now if I were to do the tracking effect, see what happens? Right? Because the anchor points are on a different point, they move differently. All the capital letters or all the letters without the descenders will move differently along the y-axis because the point of scale is different, so they're being pushed away differently from other layers with different locations for the anchor points. I hope that makes sense. So again, in the future, when we do text baking, we'll have an option or a default where the baseline or the anchor point is set at the baseline. Alright. Only tricky thing is obviously sometimes you may have more than a single line, and I'll show you quickly. So when you have a single line, we're gonna do words. So now when you scale, see that? Things aren't so good. Alright. So what you do is break them up into characters and then create different parents for each line. And I showed you need to center the parent, or you need the parent to be at the center of the layer, the last layer. Right, maybe I'll just show you one quick repeat. Yeah. So select the last and then click it's centered. Bring it up here. This is the original parent, we don't need to trash that. I'm going to select the other layers and parent it to the new parent. And now when we scale, it's fine, except this guy is a descender. So again, descenders are always a problem. Yeah, they either move down differently or up differently. Again, the whole idea is they're moving now relative to the anchor point of the parent. So parent is here, but this specific layer, this anchor point is here. So they're gonna move differently. Yeah, all the layers with the anchor point at the same y position, y value, will move together. Any other layer with anchor point that is different y position will move differently. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Cheers. Bye bye.